Hi, welcome to our brand new Microsoft Azure Administrator AZ-104 Practice Questions 2022. In this video, we are going to discuss all the dummy questions of Microsoft Azure Administrator AZ-104 Practice Questions 2022. I'm your host Kushal Mehta, and let's get started. Next question. You have a registered DNS domain named contoso.com. You create a public Azure DNS zone named contoso.com. You need to ensure that records created in contoso.com zone are resolvable from the internet. What should you do? Option 1. Modify the SOA record in DNS domain registrar. Option 2. Create the SOA record in contoso.com. Option 3. Create NS records in contoso.com. Option 4. Modify the NS records in the DNS domain registrar. And the correct answer is option 4. Modify the NS records in the DNS domain registrar. Explanation. Modify the NS records in the DNS domain registrar is correct, as we would need to modify the name servers in the domain registrar records to use Azure DNS servers in order for the DNS records to be totally resolvable over the internet. Create the SOA record in contoso.com is incorrect, as we cannot create a new SOA record separately. There is one SOA record created automatically with each DNS zone, hence it cannot be used. Modify the SOA record in the DNS domain registrar and create NS records in contoso.com are incorrect options, as we do not have to change any SOA record in the domain registrar portal. Also, NS records are created automatically once the zone is created in Azure. We only need to change the named servers in domain registrar portal for our domain. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains a policy-based virtual network gateway named GW1 and virtual network named VNet1. You need to ensure that you can configure a point-to-site connection from an on-premises computer to VNet1. Which two actions should you perform? And the options are: option 1. Add a service endpoint to VNet1. Option 2. Add a connection to GW1. Option 3. Add a public IP address space to VNet1. Option 4. Delete GW1. Option 5. Reset GW1. Option 6. Create a root-based virtual network gateway. And the correct answer is option 4. Delete GW1, and option 6. Create a root-based virtual network gateway. Explanation. Delete GW1 is correct, as we cannot make point-to-site connection with policy-based gateway in Azure. Hence, we must have to delete the existing gateway. Create a root-based virtual network gateway is correct, as we need to establish a point-to-site connection using a gateway in Azure, and that can be done only using a root-based VPN gateway. Add a service endpoint to VNet1 is incorrect, as service endpoints help to create private connections from your VNet to Azure services. It cannot be used to set up point-to-site connection in Azure. Hence, it is not used. Add a connection to GW1 is incorrect, as point-to-site connection does not involve the process of adding a separate connection to the gateway. Add a public IP address space to VNet1 is incorrect, as a public IP address is not required as a step in order to set up a point-to-site connectivity. Hence, it is not correct. Reset GW1 is incorrect, as we cannot reset the gateway in Azure to change its configuration from policy-based to root-based. Hence, it is not correct. Next question. You have an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that connects to a virtual network named VNet1. VM1 has the following configuration. You deploy a standard internet-facing load balancer named SLB1. You need to configure SLB1 to allow connectivity to VM1. you need to apply changes to VM1 as you configure SLB1. Before you create a backend pool on SLB1, you must. And the options are: Option 1. Create and assign an NSG to VM1. Option 2. Remove the public IP address from the VM1. Option 3. Change the private IP address of VM1 to static. And the correct answer is Option 2. Remove the public IP address from VM1. Explanation: remove the public IP address from VM1 is correct, as we need to remove the dynamic public IP and assign a static and standard public IP in order for it to connect to standard load balancer. Create and assign an NSG to VM1 is incorrect, as we need to assign the standard public IP to the VM instead of a basic IP address. Hence, it is not correct. Change the private IP address of VM1 to static is incorrect, as we have an internet-facing load balancer. Therefore, we need a static public IP instead of private one. Hence, it is not correct. Next question. You have an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that connects to a virtual network named VNet1. VM1 has the following configuration. You deploy a standard internet-facing load balancer named SLB1. You need to configure SLB1 to allow connectivity to VM1. You need to apply changes to VM1 as you configure SLB1. Before you can connect to VM1 from SLB1, you must. And the options are: Option 1. Create and configure an NSG. Option 2. Remove the public IP address from VM1. Option 3. Change the private IP address of VM1 to static. And the correct answer is Option 1. Create and configure an NSG. Explanation: create and configure an NSG is incorrect, as an NSG allows to define the traffic rules based on which VMs will be accepting the traffic. Remove the public IP address from VM1 is incorrect, as we have already added the static IP to the VM in the previous step and now need to add a NSG with the defined traffic rules. Hence, it is not correct. Change the private IP address of VM1 to static is incorrect, as we need to define the traffic rules once we add the static public IP to the VM1 server. We have an internet-facing load balancer, and in order to establish the communication, we need public IP instead of private one. Hence, it is not correct. Next question. You plan to use Azure Network Watcher to perform the following tasks. Task 1. Identify a security rule that prevents a network packet from reaching an Azure virtual machine. Task 2. Validate outbound connectivity from an Azure virtual machine to an external host. Which feature should you identify for task 1? And the options are: Option 1. IP flow verify. Option 2. Next hop. Option 3. Packet capture. Option 4. Security group view. Option 5. Traffic analytics. And the correct answer is Option 1. IP flow verify. Explanation: IP flow verify is correct, as this capability enables you to specify a source and destination IPv4 address, port, protocol, TCP or UDP, and traffic direction, inbound or outbound. IP flow verify then tests the communication and informs you if the connection succeeds or fails. If the connection fails, IP flow verify tells you which security rule allowed or denied the communication so that you can resolve the problem. Next hop is incorrect, as it helps to determine if traffic is being directed to intended destinations by showing the next hop. This will help determine if networking routing is correctly configured. Hence, it cannot be used here. Packet capture is incorrect, as packet capture helps to diagnose network anomalies, both reactively and proactively. Other uses include gathering network statistics, gaining information on network intrusions to debug client-server communication, etc. Hence, it is not used. Security group's view is incorrect, as this capability is useful to audit and diagnose network security groups and rules that are configured on a VM to ensure traffic is being correctly allowed or denied. Hence, it cannot be used. Traffic analytics is incorrect, as traffic analytics examines the raw NSG flow logs and captures reduced logs by aggregating common flows among the same source IP address, destination port, and protocol. Hence, it cannot be used here. You plan to use Azure Network Watcher to perform the following tasks. Task 1. Identify a security rule that prevents a network packet from reaching an Azure virtual machine. Task 2. Validate outbound connectivity from an Azure virtual machine to an external host. Which feature should you identify for task 2? And the options are option 1, connection troubleshoot, option 2, IP flow verify, option 3, next hop, option 4, NSG flow logs, option 5, traffic analytics. And the correct answer is option 1, connection troubleshoot. Explanation. Connection troubleshoot is correct, as it enables you to test a connection between VM and another VM. An FQDN, a URI, or an IPv4 address. The test returns similar information returned when using the connection monitor capability, but tests the connection at a point in time rather than monitoring it over time. IP flow verify is incorrect, as this capability enables you to specify a source and destination IPv4 address, port, protocol, TCP or UDP, the traffic direction, inbound or outbound. IP flow verify then tests the communication and informs you if the connection succeeds or fails. If the connection fails, IP flow verify tells you which security rule allowed or denied the communication so that you can resolve the problem. Hence, it cannot be used here. Next hop is incorrect, as it helps to determine if traffic is being directed to intended destination by showing the next hop. This will help determine if networking routing is correctly configured. Hence, it cannot be used here. Traffic analytics is incorrect, as traffic analytics examines the raw NSG flow logs and captures reduced logs by aggregating common flows among the same source IP address, destination IP address, destination port, and protocol. Hence, it cannot be used here. NSG flow logs is incorrect, as it is used simply to log information about IP traffic flowing through an NSG. Flow data is sent to Azure storage accounts from where you can access it as well as export it to any visualization tool, SIEM or IDS of your choice. Hence, it cannot be used here. Next question. You deploy an Azure Kubernetes service cluster that has network profiles shown in the following exhibit. Based on the information presented in the graphic, select the answer choice that completes the statement below. Containers will be assigned an IP address in the dash subnet, and the options are 10.244.0.0/16, option 2, 10.0.0.0/16, option 3, 172.17.0.1/16, and the correct answer is option 1, 10.244.0.0/160. Explanation. 10.244.0.0/16 is correct because as per the networking profile, AKS cluster will assign the IPs to the containers from pod address range. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains a virtual machine named VM1. VM1 hosts a line of business application that is available 24 hours a day. VM1 has one network interface and one managed disk. VM1 uses the D4S Verge v3 size. Change the size of D8S v3. Add a 500 GB managed disk. Add the Puppet Agent extension. Enable desired state configuration management. Which change will cause downtime for VM1? And the options are: Option 1. Enable desired state configuration management. Option 2. Add a 500 GB managed disk. Option 3. Change the size to DBS v3. Option 4. Add the Puppet Agent extension. And the correct answer is Option 3. Change the size to D8S v3. Explanation: the size to D8S v3 is correct, as resizing of the VM is the only action among all of the options which requires the VM to be in a stopped state. Enable desired state configuration management. Add a 500 GB managed disk and add the Puppet Agent extension are incorrect options, because these actions do not require the reboot of a VM. Hence, there will be no downtime in these cases. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains 100 virtual machines. You regularly create and delete virtual machines. You need to identify unattached disks that can be deleted. What should you do? And the options are: from Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer, view the Account Manager properties. Option 2. From the Azure Advisor, modify the advisor configuration. Option 3. From Azure Cost Management, view advisor recommendations. Option 4. From Azure Cost Management, view cost analysis. And the correct answer is Option 3. From Azure Cost Management, view advisor recommendations. Explanation: from Azure Cost Management, view advisor recommendations is correct, as advisor is based on Microsoft AI-based recommendation engine. It gives recommendation based on different pillars like operational efficiency, performance, cost, security, etc. From Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer, view the account management properties is incorrect, as there is no way to check the unattached disks from account management properties in Storage Explorer. Hence, it cannot be used. From the Azure Advisor, modify the advisor configuration, and from Azure Cost Management, view cost analysis are incorrect options, as these are related to finding disk's state. Hence, these cannot be used. Next question. You have a deployment template named Template1 that is used to deploy 10 Azure web apps. You need to identify what to deploy before you deploy Template1. Your solution must minimize Azure costs. What should you identify? And the options are: Option 1. 5 Azure application gateways. Option 2. 1 app service plan. Option 3. 10 app service plans. Option 4. 1 Azure traffic manager. And option 5. 1 Azure application gateway. And the correct answer is Option 2. 1 app service plan. Explanation: 1 app service plan is correct, as a web app requires an app service plan where we define the configurational parameters of the compute and storage resources required for the web apps. 10 app service plans are incorrect, as multiple web apps can share a common app service plan provided it has been assigned enough compute and storage power. And moreover, we need to save costs. Hence, we cannot use this option. 5 Azure application gateways, 1 Azure traffic manager, and 1 Azure application gateway are incorrect options, as a web app is not dependent on these resources before deployment. Hence, we cannot use these. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Azure file share. You have an on-premises server named Server 1 that runs Windows Server 2016. You plan to set up an Azure file sync between Server 1 and the Azure file share. You need to prepare the subscription for the planned Azure file sync. Which is the first action that you should perform in the Azure subscription? And the options are: Option 1. Create a storage sync service. Option 2. Create a sync group. Option 3. Install the Azure File Sync agent. Option 4. Run server registration. And the correct answer is Option 1. Create a storage sync service. Explanation. Create a storage sync service is correct, as this is the first step in setting up Azure File Sync. Then you can move ahead to download the agent and register the server. Create a sync group is incorrect, as a sync group is created within the storage sync service. Hence, it cannot be created before creating the sync service. Hence, it is not correct. Install the Azure File Sync agent is incorrect, as the link for this agent can be obtained from storage sync service only. Hence, it cannot be the first action. Run server registrations is incorrect, as we cannot register a server without installing an agent first, and in turn cannot be done without storage sync service. Hence, it cannot be the first. Thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel